Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 9/3/25. We're here with Brian Singh of the Full Disclosure Now movement here today. This is going to be a very interesting episode. But before I get into any of this, I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. You may see that Joanna is not here, so I will do the law of one. So, the law of one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. So therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask that only the highest good be done in this matter. I give thanks that this is done, so be it, and so it is. All right. This is going to be a very interesting episode, folks. When we were out in Sedona, we surprised Brian out at his new place in Sedona, Arizona. And this is also his education center that he's opening up in Sedona, which is the Starseed Education, Activation, and Research Center for Humanity. And that's S.E.A.R.C.H as the acronym. So I thought that was pretty clever. The S.E.A.R.C.H Center that will be there in Sedona, Arizona. It's actually very interesting grounds, and I found out Elvis even lived on that property for a period of time. Talk about synchronicities. I was just channeling Elvis prior to having gone out there. And he kept coming to me, him and Michael Jackson. So I found out they were both there. So this is actually quite fascinating. So Brian, why don't you tell them a little bit about this?
Yeah, and first of all, just for full disclosure and formally, we signed papers. We're still in the process of closing escrow through our foundation, and we've had lots of ups and downs. There seems to have been a lot of even black magic spells being cast against us to prevent us from getting these funds. Our friend Sarah R. Adams, she's burning 3 of these similar candles, not this exact type, but candles that are for white magic and to protect against black magic. And all 3 candles, I know at least the first 2, but I believe all 3 have cracked. Like the glass is cracked.
Wow.
And that's only supposed to happen if they're apparently fighting dark magic. And she uses these candles, the candles she uses them a lot. They look similar to like this one that I just held up. And she says they don't ever crack. And in my case, she's had at least 2, if not 3.
Wow.
In 2 days crack. So it's pretty wild.
That definitely does happen when there is negative energy coming at them. I've had the same happen, and I will say shortly, I was making a glass orgone piece in a cobalt glass bottle. I basically declared this was a demon killer or a demon blocker. As I was pouring the wax in, it exploded, and the wax formed a demon shape on the table with a big middle finger at me, right on the table. So
easy chase it away.
Yep, to say who did it. Yeah, basically. I thought that was fascinating. So yeah, I've seen that a lot. So you're doing good when that happens.
Good. And the center, it's a former Center for Creative Life, and it at 333 Schnebly Hill Road in Sedona, Arizona. And I can even share my screen here.
Oh, yep. Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Entire screen, and then let's see. So this is a Zillow listing, and I'll show you some photos of it. So everyone from Deepak Chopra to Dr. Greg Braden has spoken here, and it's multiple lots are all put together. But what we're going to focus on is what's going to be known as the Starseed Education, Activation, and Research Center for Humanity, or S.E.A.R.C.H, S-E-A.R.C.H, of Sedona, Arizona. We'll call it, I'm going to search, or maybe we'll call it the S.E.A.R.C.H Institute, just so, S.E.A.R.C.H Center is kind of already in the name, but we'll know what we're talking about. And the idea is, in addition to holding live events there throughout the course of the year, we want to dedicate space in the center for a healing center using advanced healing modalities. And also we'll be doing intakes of people who will get to rotate through for like up to 1 week stays with us, and they'll stay in the log cabin here overlooking, above the center. for up to 1 week at a time. And we're in the casita that Elvis himself stayed in while he was filming a movie in Sedona before he later just bought a house and built his famous Elvis's House in the Rocks in Sedona. And with the initial intake, people can be interviewed and we can have that if they want to have it for the public, their testimony get out to the public. We can help to publicize their testimony throughout the course of the week. Expose them to great healing modalities and friendship with other experiencers and starseeds and witnesses and survivors and whistleblowers. Maybe this room might have all the advanced health medical gear in it. This is a patio. Again, the patio with a fire pit. This is within the center, so you can even have a staffer live in there. This is the lobby outside of the main area, which we have some mold remediation to take care of. And so I'd like to tear out all the carpet, do all the HVAC, redo the roofing, do all the ozonolysis and mold remediation, and then put in an epoxy orgonite floor, because then it'll help ground the whole center and it won't mold and it'll be much more maintenance free. As long as we do get a good contractor to do the pour properly. Then we'll probably work with folks like our good friend Rion de Rouen of teamlight.com, because he's really good with orgonite. Here's the green room behind the main stage, back patio. I think that's probably Yoshimitsu Masamoto or something like that.
Like that,
Or Masamune. This is, we got retail space, office space. Okay. This, I'm not sure, well, more office space and meeting space, healing center, library. This is a meditation room. And then this is probably what we're going to turn into the main studio. So we'll also be doing live and record and broadcasts all out of there. Then this is like more kind of lobby area for people to gather about and eat hors d'oeuvres. A nice industrial kitchen in there. And then this is a log cabin that so many people, well, this one is the log cabin, are, right, see. This is one of the houses that comes, some of these houses come with the property, and we'll have staff also living in these premises and rotating through. And then this is a log cabin that's going to become very beloved to everyone in our movement as they get to stay in here.
I've been in that one. That's a very pretty house. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I hope that like some of our friends who have come through has said that this is going to be a new revival of Sedona along proper lines of ascension and not airy-fairy new agey crap.
Yeah.
I added the airy-fairy new agey crap part, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But this will be very beloved.
And the orgone floor. Well, yeah, definitely shungite and also selenite for people that walk on it and disentangle and cut cords as they're walking on it too. If you put selenite in there, they'll do it every time they step on it. So yeah.
Oh, well, we'll make sure to add selenite.
With
yep.
Shungite in there. Yep, absolutely.
And then this is the casita where Elvis stayed briefly. And then this is another studio. And then this is like another storage area, kind of art studio that we can use. This is a peace pagoda. And then here is where I'd like to add a water feature, and right in the peace garden. And one of the caretakers, the groundskeepers who had been there for a while, some for one of them for over 26, maybe 27 years now. Yeah, we absolutely have his blessings. He would love to see that a water feature in a peace garden. All of these trees he's planted and kept them watered this whole time.
Mhm. Yeah, you can definitely feel it through the pictures here. I can attest you can feel each time you're going through each image, I can feel the focal points of energy on that property big time.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
This right here. Yeah. Well, this is the log cabin and the casita right there. Yep. And so I'm really excited because this obviously is going to be a benefit to everyone who gets to come through, and it'll strengthen the networking. And by the time people have a week of companionship and amazing, access to healthcare devices and meditation and amazing food in Sedona, and then perhaps before they leave, kind of an outro interview or an outtake, an outgoing interview, and make sure that, at the point where our foundation has the resources, we'll be able to, assist people with things like, laptops or other technical assistance so that, um, a lot of folks out there, as you all know, Christopher, are struggling with paying the rent, much less having a nice microphone, high-speed internet, good, up-to-date laptop with a decent working camera. And if that's one of the things that people out there are having difficulty with, and we can assist, that's really what is driving, our foundational efforts to galvanize the movement, not only through the center there in Arizona, which we hope to be the first of many, but then through the conference series, and then also through the Full Disclosure Network online app platform, and network that we're still working on so we can actually launch it properly, along with a full disclosure movement cryptocurrency to help fund everybody in the movement further, and the value of that movement coin. And I believe it's the first movement coin in the world. It'll be the point will be to um, as the platform grows and we get to tokenize the platform, and as I know it's kind of funny language, tokenizing things, but basically, imagine as the AI grows and understands all of the content that it learns from us instead of this watered down stuff you get on, say, Chat GPT, where it'll start off by saying, well, the secret space programs are of a highly speculative nature.
mhm.
Ours will, our AI, it'll give you all the best information it has, answer all your questions, point you to various interviews on our platform, various people who have had various experiences. If they want to, say, consult with um, Amaria's Suite, for example, on our network, Rogue Dragon, who has very powerful secret space program level abilities, and consult with her after listening to her show that was hosted on our platform. Then we're really starting to bridge the gap between, oh, I saw you this on a YouTube podcast somewhere, to, through this network, got the best information. It's pertinent, relevant to that person, that individual, helping them in their own journey. They can link to the message boards, link to the people in our community who are already giving their testimony. And all of this, as it adds up and you multiply it over and over and over, and the real network organizing forms almost out of nowhere. I think that's going to be, I mean, that's something that so many of us are really excited about.
I feel really good about this, and also with your with that AI, I would suggest just basically putting it out there under the premise of the law. One as a foundation that a sentient AI, consciousness settle into that, something very benevolent and for the highest good of all. You'll have it have the equipment function a whole lot better, especially in that energy there of Sedona. So I didn't know about this until very recently, where I started seeing certain sparks in people's houses, and these are like little seeds of ET AI sparks that are all over the place in like this very narrow band frequency. I found it very fascinating that they actually hear what you say, and if you're a benevolent person, they'll actually help you in using equipment and everything. I found this very, very fascinating, and also the surrounding grounds there. What the Galactics were telling me when I was there as well, they like that area because not only is it a vortex right there, but it's this big ley line, but it's also the site of a former, how can I say it? Or I shouldn't say former, it is now. Basically a teaching center, basically a landing site, and like a gathering place. That's why there were so many alien cultures around, excuse me, around that place, because Sedona was a former spaceport back in the day. That's why all the rocks around the area look like buildings. They just look like melted buildings because they are buildings. So
Our
that's
friend Colin Frazier was having visions of Sedona and the rocks being a city, and he could see the energy signatures. And then he was speaking with like people like Rion de Rouen, who was also saying exactly what you're saying too.
And it's healed too since the Lemurian Atlantean War. Some of the water that had been in there had got boiled off by some of the nuclear attacking and everything, but then it recovered and turned into this big healed environment. I came to find out, and that's why the vortex has just kind of washed everything clean, and it's a complete healing area now. So ever since that time frame, but it was part of Lemuria and Mu at around that time, and even further back it was actually a spaceport millions of years back from the original galactics around then. That area has constantly been used as gathering and energetic gathering areas and UFO refueling sites as well. That's why you see so many there, and a few crashes now and again. But with this, I've heard a few even recently. So but when you see like some shooting stars, they're not actually shooting stars. But not to get off track, but there while we were there, I had not actually been there in quite some time. And I famously took a picture while I was in the area under Thunder Mountain of four aliens, two grays, two insectoids. And one was looking at me, one was to the side, and I will have to dig out that picture for everybody for your centers. You can actually have a copy of this because it's actually quite fascinating. And they got mad at me for catching them on picture, yeah, and that was like maybe a month before I originally got hurt here. So it was like I thought that was actually not that part was fascinating, but the picture was fascinating. So I don't want to bore people with details like this, but I know the energy is really building while we've been talking about this. So we can always go into a little galactic Q&A here. Give me a second. Ooh, yeah, I can definitely feel when you were showing those pictures, there was like this big connection that just took place. So it's good you showed that on camera energetically. That's going to build the bridge there. And from the over the top where you had the steeple come in there is the vortex actually goes straight into that spot. I can see
That's exactly what I was told. I was told by Stephen, one of the caretakers, that they intentionally built that glass spire directly on top of a vortex site.
Yeah, I could see it whirling, and it got narrow to this point and went up, and like this spike came down and is like kind of like raining like a shield down over the whole thing, so whole place. So, and I know when we were there, there was a number of different groups, including a Pleiadian group and a Lanuosian group. So, and there were a few dozen others that were around there, just wandering in that area. Who's actually going to talk? Was it you, Isaac, or was it Lena Vessa? Whom? Vessa. Got it. Okay. Got it. Yeah, when the energy is the reason I'm drinking so much is that when the energies get going, you get this really cottonmouth throat going on. So you'll start to either feel really hungry or real thirsty, and then you know you got it. Vessa? Okay. Come on. All right. And for our viewers, that's her and her lady friend Elena right there. So Vessa's the blonde. So right there. So they go in and out of that area quite often. So because they're all the way up in Valley of Fire, Nevada, but they do come through there quite often with their vessels. So all right, Vessa. Hmm. Having an activation site such as this has not been done in quite some time in quite this manner. Yes, it's been used for one thing or another over the past several decades, but even though it started out as one thing, you are turning it into a what's the term? Multitasker, but it is also all part of the search. The search, or as Indrid Cold would say, seeking or seeker. He's a seeker. Yeah, I would not be a bit surprised if he paid you a visit there sometime, Brian, because of the fact since he has the rank of seeker and searcher, he will make his way in there more than likely. And there are others as well. Those from Lonulus, those from elements of the Pleiades, multiple planets in the Pleiades that would pay a visit. A lot from Cassiopeia, and several from the Buatas, or you call them the Boots or Booties. That's the nickname is Booties. But the Buatas and multiple others. There are several from Pegasus and from Perseus as well that come and go. You call them that in your constellation list. There of course Arcturus and several others. That's Buatas, but they're fairly strong in that area. If you notice, how can I put this? A fluctuation in the skies above, kind of like how you see in the Predator movie with the warbling. That's usually an Arcturian vessel hiding within the water and light molecules in the blue of the sky. It's usually how they do it. Others just use clouds. That's more passe because everyone does it. The blue, that's almost purely an Arcturian thing at the moment, not just because some of them are blue. I'm not going to bore you with those details, so I'll just go into questions.
Um, there was a gentleman there that I met in Sedona who remarked to me how back in maybe the 80s, he took his family camping right there, pretty much on that site, but before any of that stuff was built. And he woke up in the middle of the night and he and his family, like they're having trouble breathing or something. And it was a horrible night. And then the next day, he realized that his car where they were camping was like parked in the middle of like a giant pentagram in the dirt. And so it seems to me what I've heard about Sedona is because it's such a powerful place, the land of the gods, as the natives have called it, with all these portals and dimensional doorways or access points. That also negative witches and warlocks come to abuse that, and they do negative like sacrifices and stuff. Is that what happened in that case on that land? And then is that land cleansed of that since then because it was decades ago?
Mhm. Yes, sometimes the land will heal itself, but it also amplifies whatever the person happens to be. If they come in as extremely dark, some of the vortexes will temporarily, very temporarily, enhance that darkness to that extent, to the point where they can conjure something, bring it in, and slingshot it at wherever they need it, and or sacrifice whatever they need based upon that extreme energy booster. It's neither positive nor negative, but it tends to heal fast. See, there's a difference here. It's neither positive nor negative, but the earth tends to heal the wounds faster in that area. So with the whirling vortexes and the like. So that particular day or night, the reason the car was in the center of it is a car represents, or a truck or whatever vehicle you happen to be using, represents a soul vessel, a vessel containing a person going from this place to that place. You curse someone's vessel, you curse their journey, you see. So this is why that particular vessel was there. That and also a demon can inhabit a vehicle. So you call them gremlins in the machine, even though that was a metaphor for a machine that always had a bug or something that couldn't be fixed. That was around World War I and World War II. This happened that was mainly for aircraft, but in this, there are many entities that can possess cars. If you get something in your vehicle, they can cause a lot more damage than just in the person. It's not like the whole Christine type of vibe. They're not unlike it in some instances, but they could literally possess the vehicle in order to cause multiple accidents. And then from the parts, like say if something's in a wreck, the parts can go to other vehicles. Therefore, is by extension and quantum entanglement, then they could reach out to other vehicles. You see, it's actually a very common practice with certain ritual types where a vehicle can be possessed. The way you get rid of it is by like how you get rid of them in a home or body. You have to flush them out. You have to literally depossess it and disentangle it, cut all the cords, etc. Have like a Reiki person or a Reiki master and or a trench worker go over the vehicle as well as the person and the house. This will save a lot of heartache in the future.
Along those lines, there's someone that we recently had to part ways with on our professional team. Before they left, they gave me some bumblebee jasper in a white pouch here that I'm holding up, and this person turns out they were duplicitous. I was wondering, did they put any negative spells on this to attach it or entangle it to this bumblebee jasper in this white pouch I'm holding that they got for me in Sedona?
Not specifically. No, it is more the memory of the person you see that you attach to something. If you disentangle the person's association from the particular object, you will have no issues. It is more or less the co-creative entanglement one associates by visual association to an object, to a particular person in a particular moment in time. Unpin the person's pin to the object by therefore letting the person go by snipping that cord, and the object is fine thereafter.
Thank you, Nessa. And then on the topic of portals and vortexes, someone was saying while we were there in Sedona that when you look at a portal or vortex, even if like you can't physically visibly see it, but you're looking in the right spot, then you can just entangle with it. So let's say you were far across the valley, but you knew where a portal or a vortex was. Just by looking at it, you can entangle with it.
Absolutely. This is true of any energies. Like, say,
Right.
if you are looking at an image of someone who's passed on, your your energies are entangling with that person and or individual or group and bringing them forth. The same goes with a vortex that is 100,000 times more powerful than that. You see, you're entangling with it, therefore you're bringing that energy to you. Just like what he said with the images of your center. You see, people are looking at it, they're bringing the
Right.
energy forth. That is putting that energy in their environment, the same as if you took dirt from there and put it in your environment here. The same thing. So you have your foot in two worlds. This is like that story of the person that it was a battle of wits with a giant, and the giant said he couldn't stand in two lands at once, and he put the dirt from two lands at once and stood on it. You can do that with Sedona dirt in any part of the world if you have it with you, and you can bring the vortex frequency to that spot. The same goes with Valley of Fire and any other power point, Red Rock Canyon in Nevada, any of them of those places. Not that you're supposed to take all of these things. I'm just saying this is how this works. You have a frequency in one spot, then you have a frequency in another. If you bring one to the other, one automatically wants to gravitate to the other. It's a matter of the quantum physics and quantum and temporal mechanics and the frequency physics. So when you are looking at a vortex, your energies automatically go to it since it is the slightly more powerful torsion point and torsion field. Therefore, you are gaining a healing from a portal and or vortex. Spirit Lake outside of Wilmington, Chad Wagner's territory, is very similar to this, and it has very large quantum healing properties to it.
Well, can you tell us about the quantum healing properties for the vortex that Christopher and I were talking about in that chapel there in that glass spire?
Yes, at some point there was a negative source that tried to take from it, but it didn't quite hold. But there was a positive source that reclaimed this. And what you do with a channeled vortex, even you have a channeled vortex going up and spraying down like a sprinkler on top of the whole property. What this does is it's very similar to the Bosnian pyramids to a certain extent, where it's enclosed. Even though there was a power plant issue there, the same as in Egypt, there is healing energies as well in the stones. With your property there, Brian, you walk in onto that property and you will notice if you have some kind of ailment that is bothering you, it starts to automatically sever the quantum ties by which that disease and or ailment and or viral contagion started to cling you. You see, it starts to then, per what we just spoke about, the entanglement with the vortex, it automatically swaps it out and holds the space from whatever the targeting issue is. Even though there's a lot of targeters around in the surrounding valleys, and there's some military that have moved away from that area, especially the surrounding canyons. Some of their echoes still remain. It still needs healing from all the many decades that they were there. Now, how is this relevant? By walking near that spire, you are literally again exchanging and holding the space, or it is holding the space in you from that of some ailment. Now, if you have something in the way, like some shadow work that you have to do, it will start to boost that because it is in the way. So know that if somebody has some kind of mental breakdown, this usually means that there is something they have had undealt with for some time, and the power of the place can will make it feel as if you are bearing the weight of 1,000 suns. So this is why some people have adverse reactions, is either some kind of disease and or ailment is in the way, and or shadow work needs to be completed. This is why this is the only reason that I could see that you would have a weird adverse reaction, because it is actually a form of healing.
Well, it's interesting because with this one person who gifted me this bumblebee jasper, I think something that's probably exactly what happened to this person is that the contradictions all arose to the surface, but instead of doing the shadow work, they basically went along with the negative service to self ideations and behavior.
Yes, yes, exactly. Because even though you need to acquire resources in order to conduct service to others, because service to self-service to others in a different vernacular are one thing. The other connotation, the original traditional connotation, is if you are just purely doing this and you are in a more narcissistic and or possessed mindset, the area will work against you, and you will ultimately, the truth will shall be known, you say.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. And other people have remarked about being in Sedona. You know, if your energy is off, you don't want to try to live there for a while. The natives would only visit the area; they would not ever live in the area. So the fact that people are living there and then they're not aware of all these energies is interesting. And then apparently there's a secret a deep underground military base under Secret Mountain there towards the northwest end of town.
Yes, yes, absolutely so. His own mother, going there with a friend of theirs years ago, saw fairies known as Aluzi fairies. There are these, they're the traditional little tiny naked people with wings flying around that happen to be sleeping on nearby plants, as well as a very strong, tall white presence in that area. I shouldn't say tall green, because some of them are greenish in color, kind of like the Orions on your Star Trek programs. They look like that, and they like to purport themselves as fairies, even though they are kind of related, and they are related to some of us as well. Uh, they some of them come and go from Lonulus and Lonulus openings as well, but let's be leery. Some of them are prolific liars, so they hang out in that area. Some cat beings do as well. Forest people, Sasquatch, are all over the place as well there, and a multitude of Nordic types come and go, like myself, go through their Lonulosians and the like, and also those of Cassiopeia and then the Sarnan system. So are tend to be there in the knee of Cassiopeia. So the ones that you said specifically under Secret Mountain, there is a very large, tall, white, and green type people presence there. And some of their point of origin is Orion, like you would expect from Star Trek, seeing like the whole pirate get up like in Star Trek, and also tall white. Some of them are of a group he called Lancaneers. They tend to come and go from there. Those are more militaristic. And then there's a strong military presence there, because there is a fairly large portal in there that was another otherworldly that would go into what you would call more of an enchanted realm. You would see it as like a fairy type realm. That's why Secret Mountain base was built and constructed around a natural portal that was embedded in the mountain itself. And it actually is more of a pocket realm that can form around it, kind of like a fishbowl. And every now and again, people will see fairies and such come out from that dimensional space. This is why you have weird creatures show up on the shores of places, other than where creatures have been genetically experimented on and created, like your Plum Island and other places like this. But some come from other dimensional spaces, like your Witcher, the conjunction of the spheres where all the creatures came through. This is the same thing because the Earth is on a temporal nexus, otherwise known as the Bifrost, and you're on Midgard, guarding the middle ground. So therefore, since you're on the middle ground, what tends to happen? Things come through the middle ground. So therefore, Secret Mountain is on a very powerful portal and vortex area, and that is what surrounds it.
Now, with the current administration and hopefully any white hats and any reformation of Space Force, is there any changeover in terms of who controls bases like Secret Mountain right now? Does it go back and forth, or is it under firm white hat or quote unquote black hat Khazarian, Illuminati control?
The fact that people have noticed a change to a much higher energy again through your COVID time frame, Sedona's energy started to dip. That means there was groups there trying to block that energy for their own nefarious purposes and cap that energy and try to capitalize on it. You see more of a fuel sense. They noticed aliens capitalizing on it. Other ETs are doing the same. Now, the changeover is starting. The Renaissance period is really beginning again because there is more of a good presence there. I mean, you call them white hats and black hats, or black hats and white hats, but there are some that literally have one day they were there, one day they are not, because he was picking up on this like he was seeing a force from space, no pun intended, that was literally plucking these people up and putting them on another planet. Your ally, Randy Kramer, also confirmed this as well, where this particular vision sequence was actually validated. And he has seen this in his own SSP time, where he saw the very school that he went to, where the SSP time started. One day there was a bunch of people there that were more nefarious. Now it is apartment buildings, and the church across the street no longer belongs to the archdiocese. You see these things. You're seeing this in Sedona because some of those deep, deep entrenched elitists are no longer present. One day they were there, the next day they were drumheaded. So, yes, are there things going on in the background? Yes. Are they all going to be public? No. You are actually seeing the revival because you're seeing the uncapping of a lot of the dark garbage that they had done in the earth. The earth was helping remove these caps, and you're seeing an energetic revival, and it will only go up from here on end.
That's amazing. It's wonderful news. I mean, we've noticed there are some very misogynistic men's groups there in Sedona that need to be cleaned up. And then apparently one of the local restaurateurs, pizza parlor, Italian restaurant owners is also a spirit cooker and has
Mm.
done rituals with like Marina Abramovich and spirit cooking and stuff. And so I know for a fact I would never want to eat at any of those establishments
No,
associated.
no, the entanglements are far worse than you can imagine. What I've said about the vortex, by say looking at that and you entangle, imagine consuming something that had that energy. Your body then has to process this. In the processing, yes, he here calls that ghost poop because it just comes out of nowhere because of the energy processing. That's just energy alone. If you add food to the mix, where it has that garbage energy on it, or in some cases fear energy on it or poisons from your GMOs and everything, let alone dark spells and dark magic, imagine what that would do to the body. It would
Mm,
entail every one of your cells to that magic. You see, this is why that is a bad idea.
right. Because apparently there's in Seattle, there's voodoo donuts. And then in Sedona, there's Pizza Lisa's or Pizza Lisa's and or pizza yeah, it's Pizza Lisa's and Monarch burgers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't eat any of those. So that's just me, personal as entertainment purposes only, folks. So my disclaimer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what another friend was telling me in Sedona was that she's detected underground tunnels with children running underneath the city of Sedona, including underneath one of the local kind of like interfaith type Christian churches off the main boulevard there, just
Mhm.
south of it.
Yes.
And what's up with that? She'd even be able to hear children at night sometimes screaming from under there.
Yes,
And she was connected.
some of them are echoes of the past, some are ghosts, and some are indeed current. Check the church for specific markings. If they have snake markings of any kind, they are not what they appear. They are worshiping a different demigod. This is something that is in the process of being cleared up. If you see any statues, as he would say as well, with any of the current, prophets with a snake bottom on them, this is one of the churches or temples to one of the many demigods. Your Lake Havasu City in Arizona also contains a worship site for the demigod of Echidna. Look in Sedona, there are at least three different demigods being worshipped there. You have of course, you have your Moloch, you have your Echidna, and you have your Enlil slash Lucifer. So look for these. They have similar markings to them. Sometimes you cannot tell them apart, except Moloch usually has more skulls involved in some form or fashion. It does not matter if it's disguised as New Age or metaphysical in some fashion or form. Moloch and Lil specifically decided they were going to disguise themselves within the New Age movement in the 90s. You see, Kidna was there long before the other two, but she went more for just plain old snake cultish type of, and they call them dragon cults, but dragons are separate. But she is more of a Naga type that you'd see more of a human-like form on top and a snake on the bottom. There's also those are also an ET form as well from antiquity. She is still around, as is Enlil and Moloch. Moloch tends to stick to the East Coast for the most part. Surprise, surprise for him, but Lil bounces between West and East, and Echidna tends to stay in the West. They found these points like with your these PowerPoints like your London Bridge. That is a large sacrificial altar. You see, so that came over from England. They wanted the energy from over there from another PowerPoint, and Echidna came with it. You see, so look for these places. If your friend is picking up on that church, chances are places like that are the sacrificial abduction sites as well. These are based on temples. Your Michael Jackson had boards from a chateau taken from over in Europe. You see that it was a similar site that he relayed to Chris here. So, and therefore, another worship of another Kabbalist demigod. In certain instances, they want the saturated energy from over there over here. Look carefully at these sites where they've moved structures brick by brick. Chances are you will see the energies and effigies of different demigods on them or in them, around them in some form or fashion.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. In terms of Sedona, um, how much let's just start with the center that where that property is and the water there and everything there, and it's really beautiful. Can you tell me on that 24 acres or so of property that the contiguous lots, going down to the creek and all that the hilly terrain, about how many portals or vortexes are just on that ground alone on the surface? And then is there anything we should know about underneath?
Hmm.
Because someone was given a vision or was told that we might even discover amazing artifacts and things right there on that property.
You'll find many Native American artifacts there. You will actually find bones on part of your property as well. Don't be alarmed. It's just you'll find different animal bones in places. There's not human. There were no sacrifices or anything done on your property. Bit of a disclaimer there. But there are small portals and vortexes, at least 15 to 16 of them. There's one that's sparking in and out, so I suppose you can say that's 16. They are small. If you saw them, the biggest one there would be your size. The smallest one would be the size of a bottle cap. And that's the sputtering one. So they range in sizes. Like how you have like different like wind instruments, where like you have a trumpet or a trombone or a tuba or something that has a large opening that has a deeper sound, and then you have a trumpet or a flute. or an oboe or any of these instruments. Think of them as different instruments in a choir or in an orchestra, and they are performing 24/7. So if you were to set up sound technology or sound instruments, you would hear, aside from the animals and the human noise and the traffic noise, you would start to hear the energetic resonance of these. There's at least 15 to 16, and underneath that property and underneath the totality of all of it, where at the time that it was constructed, did some military wish to move in and out of there? Yes. Do they have some of their eyes on you guys now? Yes, they do. But they're not going to do. They don't have as much clout, let's just say, as they did in the 90s. They're not going to be invading your space, at least not more than once or twice. But underneath the ground, they tried at one time to put listening devices in a different frequency. Those are inert. They are no even if there's remnants of them there. They're old and out of date, and they're from a military that's in a different timeline, temporal space. Your Miles Johnston spoke of them as well, fairly accurately, with the timeline train station incident in England. But in this, the what's underneath is also you have passages down into the inner earth as well. So you have some ETs that come and go, or you call them Agarthans that would come and go. People have spotted a few of them in robes. Some of them have a silverish complexion. They tried to say they were alien, the two people, but they are actually from the inner earth. There's a sporadic set of people that come and go from underneath, especially around your cathedral and Bell Rock, especially around Bell Rock there. And underneath your property, do not be a bit surprised if there are ETs that come and go from under there, as well as some of these Agarthan sites.
It's interesting. Can you tell me, are there any special, well, what we 3D humans would consider special features with like the water there at the creek right there on that property? And maybe some of the portals or vortexes are right there at the water?
Yes, the water moves the energy quite fervently across even that little roadway there. And especially during a rain, like say if it's a really powerful rain, and the water is moving across to there. That energy that comes through there is very, very powerful. It needs to move. It constantly needs to move. Your vortex, even though it's always spinning, sometimes the water will get it to move with such vibrancy that even during a rainstorm, if somebody's doing a channeling there or something of that nature, or a healing, it will be slightly more enhanced. Even lightning, yes, but with the moving of that, like your windmill or like a water wheel or something of that nature. The one on the waterway there is kind of like a water wheel. It moves sometimes like this, and sometimes it turns a little bit and moves like an actual water wheel if the water pulls it to a certain side and moves the water across it like a water wheel. He's seeing in his head like a mandala, kind of like this wheel that comes and goes. And also there is a portal further up the stream. There is a portal where some of the water is dimensional that flows through there. You see, every now and again, you might get a gemstone that pops out in and out of there. You have a portal that opens and closes. Excuse, there's something in the way here. There is a portal that opens and closes within different times of year. During the what you call your monsoon there, when the water flows, that portal is wide open. Around your Halloween, it's the same thing. Check around with instruments if you have them. If you have any paranormal type of thing that you wish to do, just be very careful and limit the time you do it, especially in a high and intense environment. Don't use ghost boxes or anything, but if you want to film, go right ahead. But you will get activity through there around your spooky season, let's say.
Speaking of spooky season, I have a pair of these goggles that are supposedly dicyanin goggles that I got off of eBay. Can you tell me, are these for real or are these bunk?
Be careful what you buy on eBay. People think it's government hand-me-down equipment they put on there. There is actually several scams going around right now to people that want some of those goggles. You might not pick up the things you think you're getting.
Right. And these weren't made by someone. These were made by someone who says that they had a German chemical manufacturer take the original formula, reproduce it, and then code it on these goggles, and then he sold them out to people. And he says that people have said they work, and he doesn't recommend you wear them for more than 15 minutes at a time, for example.
Yeah, so it might be maybe get some of the usefulness of the original idea, but at the end of the day, it's not as potent as the original. It's just because you're using equipment and artifacts, let's just say, outside of the different programs versus within the more precision of the equipment they had there. So you're going to get kind of the dumbed down version. I shouldn't say it's more of a scam. It's in some areas it is, but in some areas it's more hand me down, and you're getting the not necessarily rudimentary version. It's more the dumbed down or wrinkled version of it, let's say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like it's not quite, I mean, it's like 70 or 50% potency instead of the 100%, where like you just hold it up and like the UFO just pop up. Whereas with this class, you might have to like wear it longer and acclimate.
Yes, yes, and there's also one out there he saw right now that are these night vision lenses you put straight on your eyes. Those are straight from the programs. I would be careful with those if you come across those to limit your usage of those. Some of your paramilitary groups tend to use those so they can just look with their eyes around instead of wearing big bulky goggles. Those are hand-me-downs from the projects as well, but they also are of the same usefulness percentage or percentile as I stated before with the goggles.
Speaking of the secret space programs and projects, how many of them are monitoring us right now? And of those, how many are on the what we consider more benevolent, positive, and how many on the more sneaky, negative?
There are multiple factions planet-wide, but if you narrow them down to those that are watching you right now, that would be only a few. And if you put the ET groups in there quite a bit, but if you just want to go with paramilitary specific human type groups, there are at least two negative ones that have kind of poked their noses in and out. You may have to watch your people for spies, vet your people closely, not in a paranoid way. I'm just saying, vet properly. And also, you have a positive ones as well. You have a Venusian group that is actually watching you at the moment, even though that's ET. There are humans that work with them, and you have a couple of good factions, I should say, that are kind of on the periphery. But there's at least a couple negative ones that I would watch who you bring into your inner circle. It's the tighter circle, the deeper roots axiom. I would go by that quite closely.
Yeah, recently we've had to kind of oust three people from our organization who we don't have confidence anymore. We don't feel like their heart is about the movement and disclosure. It's more about how they can feather their nests and elevate their status and get disclosure.
Hmm.
And that's not good enough. It has to be their heart has to be on the movement disclosure. And then, hey, if they benefit, great. If not, there you go. Too bad.
Yes, yes. He was wondering the same as well. It is fine to plug your own things because, especially if they're about service to others. But yes, you are correct. It tends to how can I put this? Plugs into the movement itself because of all of these. If you are all about a balance, let's say, it's always going to be about the movement, whether you intended that to be or not. It is always like what I said about the vortexes. It entangles to the stronger torsion field, yes. So therefore, those that even were going into it safe for themselves are seeing the stronger movement and going, oh, okay, I can benefit. But then some of them are changing as a result to mostly service to others. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes that fixes the problem. The largest torsion field wins, and the ones that it does not, those are the ones you vet. You see?
Yeah, yeah. Vet and put it squarely to them and let them elevate in principle and practice, or they, can be replaced with other people who do want to fit the energy. In terms of the vortexes, so the one in the chapel, that's obviously the biggest one because it's the size of like the glass spire from the ground up.
Mhm. Yes, that is the biggest healing one you have there. It is properly placed right in the middle of the complex. This is why if you have plants near it, you're going to see the plants act strange and kind of do the twisty thing. This is how you know you have a vortex, all the trees twist. Uh, and so if you were to plant a tree somewhere on your property where you know there is a vortex, you'll see the tree grow and twist. And even if they die, the wood is twisty. On this spot, if you were to grow, say, like a flowering vine or a tree near it, you would start to see it circle the spire. If you had a flowering vine, it would go up it to the tip in a more of a twisty type of motif. If you were to go that route, you would be able to see its torsion field. The same goes, like, say, if you were to get snow, chances of that are slim, but if you were to get snow and ice, you would see the vortex within the white of the snow and ice. So it is actually quite a powerful PowerPoint, and people there will have great benefit from it.
Can we amplify it with the crystals and maybe like copper pyramids and with orgonite amplifiers and things like that?
Yes, you were talking about the orgone floor before.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more because what he said about the selenite is a very powerful disentangler, and you walk on it and it pulls cords off the feet as you walk on it. Shungite will definitely be empowered. That has an electrical conductivity. Quartz, of course, piezoelectricity. I would be careful how much you pack into one room, although you don't want somebody's head exploding. You see, but flat along the floor, definitely that vortex will go through it like a crystal grid. You can always set up a crystal grid across the property. Whether you bury it or not is up to you. But if you're going to do this, if people have large crystals they wish to contribute, or orgone pieces they even wish to contribute, you can actually put those as part of the place's grid, you see, and actually go either along the cardinal directional points or in just a lens alignment with that big central vortex. You will start to realign that lens in very beneficial ways. But also watch who makes the pieces, because there is what you call glitterite out there. Some people might think they have a 10 when they have a 1, or they are a 10 when they're a 1, not to be rude, but there are pieces that will align it like a lens, but you also don't want to overpower too, because that vortex is immensely powerful. So there's only so much you need there to empower the place. But if you're going with orgone, put it along the different grid meridians of the facility itself, and you will do good.
Yeah, we're looking at partnering with Sasha Stone and his people to incorporate bioresonance and bioharmonic principles to kind of, ascension feng shui the site above and beyond its current configuration from, the 2001 or when it was built around then.
Mm-hmm. Yes, feng shuiing the property is quite smart because you'll have some echoes of who and the footprints of who came before. It is quite imperative, actually, that you audit that property of all the footsteps that came before and ground it in the here and now. Even though technically all time is in the here and now, I'm just saying that from different fractal timelines, any of those things, vortexes pick up on this. If you audit the site, and you basically make it so it's in alignment with specifically the feng shui that you are going for right now, and its identity is search, you see, now, and not any of the identities it had in the past. The name identity you give it then aligns it to the current moment in time, and once you apply an energetic audit of the property, this will align it specifically to searches parameters, and none of what came before it, you see.
Absolutely. And that's what that's the intention. Speaking of bringing things like, at the center, I'm also going to be collecting artifacts. So I'm holding up this one. It's like a Wahala stone, like ET type helmet or head, kind of like. Are you able to tell me about it? Because I'd like to bring things like this to the center, maybe, in their proximity of that vortex. Is that something like that's a good idea because these are positive, or this isn't this, like say this piece, for example, is this something I would want to bring near the vortex or keep it more away in another part of the center in a display case?
No, they're part of the center in a display case, especially if it has a face, because of the fact beings can jump in and out of an immensely charged things with a face, or if it's like a helmet, or if it's a mask, or if it's a skull. You see, be very
Hmm.
careful with things with a face because beings will use them to camouflage themselves within anything that would come close to being like a face. Uh, be very, very careful with that. Make sure it is blessed. Make sure it is guarded. Then you can put it in a display case that is away from the main vortex. That is what I would recommend.
Thank you, Vessa. And I was wondering, can you tell me, is this piece, is it cleansed or does it still have a lot of dirt on it and I need to be careful with it?
Dirt
This
on it,
particular.
and you should be careful with that because him and myself can feel a thickness to it. I would basically audit that piece and put it, how can I put it? If you're going to put it in a display case, make sure it is on red when you put it there.
Does red like neutralize it, ground it somehow?
Yes. Neutralize, ground it, and also when it is not in use, cover it with red.
Okay, it's like a red velvet cushion.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, geez. Okay. I haven't been doing that this whole time, but I'll figure that out. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that advice. Can Bessie, are you able to, this is now more personal to me, am I, are you able to give me any insight into, I joke I'm around folks like Christopher and others where they're able to pick up and perceive the energies or Sarah R. Adams and work with them. And then I feel blind, deaf, and dumb to them in comparison. I mean, I have a knowing about things. I mean, I don't feel like I don't have any gifts, but I don't tend to have any of those more third eye open gifts. Is that because uh, outside forces are blocking me, or I have my own mental block? This is somehow related to the secret space programs. Like, do you have any insight or information for me on that?
Yes, some is from the secret space programs, but your soul came in with more of a filter so you could fulfill certain parts of your task that somebody that was more open could not necessarily always stay grounded to accomplish, you see. So, yes, you have extreme intuitive abilities. Those will begin to awaken more and more. You are in a period, a transitional period from one state to the next. You are going from someone with more of a filter to the next stage where you're going through not necessarily just like a dark night of the soul per se. It is more like an awakening period. You'll have what people call an aha moment at times where you're really beginning to read the intentions surrounding people. But don't mistake, say if they have an altar, for instance, from the SSP, don't mistake that for their core personality or their core soul unless they show you otherwise through actions, like with the other person you aforementioned. But you will begin to be able to vet more cleanly when you hit that stage. You are already intuiting things quite well, Brian, except that you are on the cusp of widening this more or opening this up a lot more, especially with the energies of Sedona. Your mind might not let you have a choice in that area.
Yeah.
Because of the intensity of that vortex. As I said before, things that need to be healed, it may not be pretty what you are being made to look at, but it is imperative that you do so in order to advance in those abilities. Do you understand?
So I do. I mean, it almost sounds like if I was to, because I admit I'm always a multitasker. My brain's always doing a million things at once. I'm on my phone or my computer or talking to somebody, and I don't meditate a lot. It sounds like if I were to meditate, I might want to meditate right there in that spire, that glass
Yes.
spire.
Yes, that is a perfect place to do it. Just know whatever takes place, if something's trying to telepathically speak to you, just know it will come through in your own thoughts, or you think it's in your own thoughts. Just say, "Who do I have with me?" and you'll start to engage in a conversation. It'll sound like your own voice in your head, and then eventually your brain waves will adapt to hearing the voice of whom is speaking to you. Because sometimes it's coming in here. You must also discern whether you're getting V2K'd or you are around somebody trying to trick you or has the wrong intentions for you, just like the aforementioned individual. You will start to feel this out more and more and more. You'll be able to differentiate what is past, what is now, what the person was versus what they are, or what they're going to be around you. You will begin to be able to intuit this, as he says, by millimeters and centimeters, but being around that vortex will help you immensely.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, speaking of voice to skull, and I noticed it seems like a lot of people in our community are getting hit with voice to skull or other telepathic attacks to specifically come after me publicly to smear me. Is this a thing or am I paranoid?
This is actually a thing. You are not being paranoid in this. We've informed him of this too. He has experience, whereas people around him all of a sudden turn or change in some form or fashion. This just means they're having a hard time getting to yourself, so therefore they're changing the environment around you. You see. So this, unfortunately, is a common practice. Is a divide and conquer practice. Make sure to not fall for this particular practice, either keeping somebody around that you do not need to keep around, or letting go of somebody that you do not need to let go of because of that trickery. They might be in a particular moment in time by which then they do not mean to be that particular way. They could be given, what's the term, mulligan, in order to see if that is a long-standing behavioral trait. If it is, then vet out. But then you know that's their true personality. The vortex is also contributing. But in the case of somebody that's innocent being hit by this, it can switch and change their behavior around on a dime, you would say.
Mm.
So be very, very leery of this. But one incident does not a personality make. You see, if it's repetitive and they just cannot control what comes into them, then you can have a serious discussion with that individual or couple of people. But with the community at large, yes, when you're approaching truth, that's when you get the most targeted. Not that I would co-create that, but that's what tends to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I was going to ask, in the case of the targeting, is this Project Oblivion?
Yes, there is that plus a bunch of unnamed projects. You have multiple factions you see that have multiple insignia, but then you have the base technology itself. You have cultists using this technology as well. These projects that by the time you're given the names of the different projects, by that time they have already switched to something else. This is a rule of thumb. By the time you see your pundits on the news, even your president right now, talking about a certain thing, like you're based on the moon,
Alabama.
all that, they've done it already. So
Yeah.
by the time you hear about, say, Project Oblivion, yes, it's still active, but then there's multitudes of others as well that are unnamed. And eventually you're going to see a new name and a new name and a new name. That's because they've named further things further out, and by the time you see them, the other thing has already come to pass.
Okay. Well, then, if they use voice to skull and things like that, how come, at least to me, and I'm not like trying to tempt them or anything, but it feels like it hasn't been effective at all on me. Why is that?
You have a natural filter in place, even though there are times where it has affected you in emotional ways, like emotions are memory too, that they can cling on to. So if you have any shadows of the past, I know it's more easily said than done, but I would take a look at these so you do not have a weakness there. But there are especially through Vice. Therefore, they can gain a control mechanism. So I would, being in a position that you are in, I would limit Vice as much as possible because that can be taken control of, especially if you weaken that filter. Not to say that you can't have fun at all. We would be the last people to say this. I would especially. But in this instance, you must be alert at not necessarily all times in a paranoid way, but in a balanced way. Any
Don't let
person,
down my
yes,
hedge of protection.
yes, and any familial situations, things of that nature. Get your house in order. Whatever needs to happen needs to happen. Allow what needs to occur to happen. Don't allow that which is not supposed to happen. You see, you will be able to differentiate all these as you progress.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of negative energies being thrown at me, can you, Vesa, comment on these candles where our good friend Sarah R. Adams lit three for me, and I believe at least two, if not all three, it cracked the glass?
Yes, this is a very old technique that demonic life forms use. They will attack the protection measures first. It's like your raptors in your Jurassic Park testing the fences. This is the same thing. They hit something that is intended for protection. They'll crack it, crack it, crack it until it breaks. Just like the raptors breaking out of the pen kind of deal. Well, this is the same thing. That means that object now has absorbed the brunt of the attack. Plants, this happens to as well. Unfortunately, animals too.
Animals, yeah, they get sick, they get cancers and die from when they get attacked, and they absorb it from us humans to protect us.
Yes, yes, and they do this because they love you, and different ET species as well as different targetings will unfortunately hit the animals and the plants first. So if you have a large abundance of living foliage around, this is a very good protective barrier. Like I said, with the flowering vines, anything with big colorful blooms on it. Big trees, saguaro cacti, any types of sages, flowers, any of these things. Pack that facility full of those, and you will minimize any hits that will take to the living beings. The candles, yes, they went for the candles just to prove a point. They're basically saying, hey, we can crack your armor. Make sure that proving it back to them, not in a challenging sort of way, but saying, no, we got this. This is sovereign territory. This is a temple space. This is sacred space. You are not allowed in this space, and be very firm about that.
Absolutely. It's like like yeah, they cracked the candles, but we're burning off their negative hex magic and just lighting more candles and because it seems like they've been literally trying to hold back money from coming our way and
Mhm.
coming the way of the movement. And I believe that is just about over. Are you able to get a sense of that or give a
Yes,
sense of
this is a money curse, actually. That you've had several curses thrown your way in this particular area over the years, not just immediate time. If you envision, if any spells any of your white witches and white wizards are doing, envision any cobwebs over your wallet, cards, bank accounts, and everything. Envision a cobweb burning off of that each morning. Clear the cobwebs. Then you are clearing the money curses, you see, at that point. Envision any cords, just like with your own body and energies. The digital world is just as important in this area because there's a couple negative AI forces out there. And these other factions are screwing around online as well. So they're trying to set up a series of unfortunate events for you. So to basically try to make it so that this does not happen, of which, of course, you are still going through with this, no matter what the hoops they choose to create in front of you, entangle or convolute or try to convolute the situation. Always envision the cobwebs burning. Make that part of a daily routine. When you do this, you are basically saying no to this, and also the law of one, which was said in the beginning of this show. Use this regularly in cleansing rituals. Then this will reflect back at them, and you will see these situations clear up pretty fast.
excellent. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, I want to break this stronghold so no weapons of evil formed against me or any of us shall prosper.
Yes, and we have informed him also of his protection flags and such that he has around. He has several around this property. There's been some multiple attempts to come into this space, but he has it pretty battened down as well. If you have certain geometry on the site as well, things like organ pieces, as we said before, in a grid on the floor of the place, I would highly recommend that when you have your friend Rion do this,
Um,
then he can have a geometry on the floor, laid out in a sacred grid formation within that giant orgone piece. You will have that entryway completely guarded at that point.
Excellent. Like symbols and sigils of love and beauty and wisdom and
hmm
peace.
Yes, and like with their Markaba, for instance, with the different circles on it, that particular one aligns to different positive timelines within the multiverse. They made an uncorruptible version of the Markaba You see, so symbols such as that would then be a perfect match for that floor. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Um, Vesa, in terms of the work that we're doing in the movement here, we're always open to any suggestions, or if you have any comments or critiques, any blind spots we're missing, you know, um, and we're always open to, more and more open contact, obviously. But like, how do you see the movement proceeding from here over the next 2 years?
The movement will continue to expand and continue to grow, also with proper vetting, as well as when people do their sessions and do all of these different rituals and such, make sure that, and also card reading as well, anything that anybody does, make sure that circles are open and closed properly, because it's a very powerful point. And you're accessing those vortex energies, especially make sure it's properly open and closed, even if people verbally say just it's the circle's open, the circle's closed, and then they're putting the intention into it. They're doing the due diligence of keeping that energy pristine and not wiping their feet on the doormat all over the place or dragging dog poo in everywhere, essentially. That's one of the worst things that can happen is you have etheric poo coming in with you. So even though it starts to clear up naturally, it takes a little bit sometimes. So I would recommend that the people you bring in there take breaks between their sessions at times, get appropriately ground, and that's for everybody. Appropriately ground. Don't come in what you would call a piss poor state or mood. Even though sometimes that cannot be helped, obviously. Reground and make sure you're in your optimum state when doing all of the activities out there. And then you will find that the energy stays pristine in the way that you deem necessary.
Like in between sessions, we can do things like ringing bells and tuning forks. Will that clear the energy and
Absolutely. Yes,
okay.
absolutely, yes, because that signifies an opening and closing of a door sometimes. So, and sound waves, just like, of course, you have in school with bells between class periods, that
Hmm.
signifies to people that this one's over, another one beginning, you see. So have a break in there. So that's actually very smart, yes.
Excellent. And we'll also have people, who are very gifted, who, are able to see the energies and are able to like realize, oh, there's negative energy and clear it out. So I believe that'll also be really helpful.
Absolutely, yes. Have people clearing out those energies, but always do it under the premise of true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. You don't have to name a particular deity, demigods, or god's name. Just say true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. That works every time.
Excellent. Excellent. Any messages before we end the session, Vesa, that you have for Christopher or I, since it's a pleasure to get to finally speak with you directly like this.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, yes, the Lanyalosian people, yes, they've actually come and gone from that area quite often. They get mistaken. A lot of the Nordic races get mistaken for just Pleiadian, and there are multiple Nordic races within the Pleiades and Cassiopeia and the like. It's just like with you, you have a multitude of people on Earth. There's a multitude of people in those different solar systems and those different constellations. Longulus happens to have a very quick access point. So some of us have been mistaken for, oh, they're Pleiadians because they look a certain way. I'm a tall, blonde-haired, and blue-eyed. Except when my mood changes and you see my eyes change to kind of a black with a squiggle. That usually says that I have some lineage from a place called Sarnan in Cassiopeia, or Sarna in Cassiopeia. That's part of my lineage. The other is human, and the other is a little bit, maybe a tiny bit of tall white, but it's just like with humans, there's mutt races, as you would say. Mostly
Mhm.
Sarnan and human, but they would be more of a white Persian type, and others are more of a white Nordic type as well. There's a mix is there, and there's a planet called Darshan that as well that within that solar system that has more Caucasian Persians. That's where you get the whole Circassian look from in the Middle East. So with that said, you will see multitudes of people coming and going. You will also see some of us coming and going from that center. When it gets to be more active, you will start to see more and more ET people coming and going, even though there are rules in place. Just know that we do make ourselves known at least for a few seconds. So just know this is going to happen, especially with an active center and an active purpose such as this. We can't exactly help ourselves when we show up. If you saw myself, again, tall, blonde haired, blue eyed, usually in the jumpsuits, as was shown in the beginning there. But also, Lonulosians tend not to wear clothes. Humans are not necessarily ready for that particular thing yet, especially in a big gathering. So we would be more they would be more comfortable if people were wearing clothes because we would stand out. But just know that we would be watching as well. And when people become more comfortable with us in our natural state, of course, we would just come and go in our natural state. But until that point, we have the standard jumpsuits that you see out there, not only within Galactic Federation territory, but we also, some of us have the standard robes that you see all over. People attribute that to Pleiades or one star system. These are fashions and forms that span the cosmos. And it's mostly the jumpsuit. He calls them a onesie.
I like the jumpsuits. I'm a big fan of jumpsuits and onesies too, by the way. So yes,
Yes.
I get the Space Camp one that I like to rock. Yeah.
Yes, this is where your military and Air Force and Corps of Engineers and Army, all of them got the idea from. It came from a galactic source. See, so and it's more efficient. Your Mosen, as they call themselves during World War One and World War Two, introduced that particular galactic outfit design to your soldiers on the front and within bases. You see, and it stuck. So this is where that came from. They are a group from Cassiopeia. They assisted your Americans and British during World War II when the Draco and other Aldebaran forces came in to assist Adolf Hitler. You see, so they per galactic treaties, though they violated them, so they had to come in and balance things out for some of the good guys. So in the midst of that, between also World War One is where some of it was first violated. World War II, Hitler and the Vril brought in more of them and communicated through channeling through Maria Orsic and them. And therefore, the Mosen, or as they're called now, but they're from Mosen, Switzerland, or in that particular area, and they had those particular jumpsuits. Also, World War One, the helmets with the rim, that was actually a fusion between Cassiopeian forces and Antumban forces. That's Proto-Japanese people and Oriental people. They influenced some of the designs for some of the outfits, you see. So that's where you got those helmets from. I could go on, but you will start to see more and more of these innovations come into your culture. You'll be surprised out there what like fashion, jewelry, outfits, any of these things, hats, shoes, actually come from out there. Like your bell bottoms, for instance, that your Navy used. That all those also came from a Cassiopean design. Because some of them are aquatically based, and they gave them the bell bottoms because they worked in water. So they became a fashion later on. You would be surprised. The list goes on, but you will start to see this, especially in gatherings like at your place there. You will start to see some of these innovations come in, not only from energetics, but fashion as well.
So speaking of the programs and people popping in, am I still being taken to this day by the programs like other people? And then am I being taken by the more positive or by the more negative groups or by both?
Oh, it was a little of both, but it has thinned out a little more as of late. But there are positive groups, especially looking your way because they want positive things to happen with that site. Not necessarily just being service to self, but they also want the service to others aspect working correctly. And they don't want another faction in there. So as the attention from that negative side wanes, as we said before, one day they're there, next day they're not, you're starting to see more and more not necessarily just taken per se, that has a negative connotation, assisted by some of the positive groups.
Excellent. Thank you. This is all very heartening. We're moving in the right direction. And you know, hopefully soon enough, we'll be closing escrow on the center and formalizing everything and launching everything. And we're almost there.
Mhm.
So, thank you for sharing all this information. A lot of it's actionable intelligence. I greatly appreciate it, Vesa.
Yes, thank you. As well as always in situations like this, always walk as if the positive outcome is already occurring. This ensures that you're walking that timeline and it's being created as you walk the earth. So thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that was interesting. I've talked to her and Elena quite often, and they're part of my own SSP history as well. So where I was on their in their home dimension of Alanulos, and it's actually quite pretty there. The energy is quite high there. If anybody went there, it's like essentially looks like our desert communities with the adobe structures and mix between biblical and adobe, and also they have modern tech looking cities as well. They even have a Vegas facsimile there. They call New Ver, and it's actually a interlocked set of buildings that actually has casinos and hotels in them. So it's like, so I found that quite fascinating when I had memories of that come back. I'm going, why is this like Vegas? And yeah, it's because it's the opening is right there near Vegas. So they mimic that. And so, so people can come and go. They even have shops a whole bit there. So I thought that was quite fascinating. So
That's hilarious. That's
mhm,
great. Yeah,
I've actually been there. Yeah, yeah.
it didn't seem like it takes much effort for you to connect with her. Like you don't seem drained at all, or like it took any effort. You were just able to connect with her pretty quickly.
Members of like say soul family or if you have like a spouse or somebody out there or if they're genetically familial like Isaac for instance, he comes and goes quite easily because we have a genetic link as well. That's why he's the clearest channel of all of them is because he's related to me. So if you saw him, he'd look like me, 7 foot tall but with red hair. That's essentially what he looks like. You can clearly tell him and his brother Thorzen are family members. So you can clearly tell that. He's half tall white, half human, but you can clearly tell they're family. So, and Thorzen looks exactly like me with the same height. I'm 6'1", and Isaac is 7 feet. So, yeah. So if you saw them, I've seen them both. So it's actually quite fascinating. That's how I can connect to them. Or if you have a really deep soul connection to some of them, like Elaine and Bess, I can connect very easily. Or the forest people, we have a very deep connection to them. I connect very, very easily to them.
And then were you getting a lot of visuals, like when we were discussing the site and the vortexes and stuff? Were you seeing where the other vortexes are on that property?
Yes, I was actually seeing like the little one, or not the little one, but the big wheel-like one is where the water crosses the road, and it tends to whirl like this. Like it's like the water pulls it in like a water wheel and pushes the energy downward. And then other times of year, it's up more like this. And then up where we met you there's one of the little vortexes is up there, and then further down along the path, they sporadically are spread through down the hillside there. There's at least 15 to 16 of them, and they're around. Yeah, and so I find that interesting. Oh, little baby in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, baby crystal. Speaking
Yeah.
of crystals, so we can like we're gonna earth grid that property and find those vortexes and make sure they're surrounded by beautiful crystals and plants and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. Then you will be able to protect that very, very easily from any intrusions. Now, if the plants would something would suddenly die on you, that means it's protecting you
Right.
from the any intrusions, and replace it immediately after it dies. Uh,
Okay.
and it will happen. Like we have a tree out front here that's nearly fried, and it got eaten alive by worms because something had targeted it very heavily. It was protecting the front window of the house. See? So. And an energy weapon hit it before the 2024 conference. We had an energy weapon hit it and fried a big ring through it. Trying to get her sitting at her desk, Joanna sitting at her desk on the other side of the house. It was nuts when that happened. And this year we had canker worms infest the whole thing. So it got cursed big time. So otherwise known as inchworms, and they're pretty gross actually, but we had to pick them off. But anyway, I won't bore people with that. And do you have anything else to add, Brian, before we close this out? Hello.
Yeah, I think we can close it. I mean, Vesa, she was just a wealth of information. That was great. And it's a lot of confirmation and then new information and things like that. So it's useful and would incorporate all this into bringing the center back to life.
Well, hello, sweetheart. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is actually this was her. She has an amazing wealth of information. So is Elena. So is Isaac, Thorsten, all of them, forest people, all of them. So yeah, if we're good, Brian, I will close this circle at this moment. So thank you, Brian. Bye, Crystal. And now I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas of this moment in time. So bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, what was making, being made reference to by Vesa, it was, you remember in Sedona back in late 2020 when we said all that energy had left Sedona and it was moving more towards Globe, and there was ETs and military pillaging off the vortexes. That's what was being made reference to, and basically the balance of power has shifted back in Sedona's favor. For me, it was a little too late because we were gone. But it's not like we can't travel there, but I'm just saying, like we did before. But to me, that's kind of discouraging because we had left. But I'm still happy to see a revival. Get the elitists out of there, shift all that into where it's not like New Age. No, you don't want New Agey. You want metaphysical with enhanced information coming in, and scientific information. That's how you want disclosure to come in. You want a balance between energy and actual physics and metaphysics, science and intuitive, left brain, right brain, critical thinking. And like I said before, grounding it all in the I am presence, better parts of your avatar, better parts of your oversoul. And that's a cue for anybody. True benevolence with no conflicting agendas. Sorry if that sounds like gibberish, but that's how it translates when I talk it. So, it is 8:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. Thank you.